Hi everyone, welcome to week 10. This is the last full week of classes and this will actually be our last video. So we made it, congratulations. We have one more module to complete, but this module has no essay, so let's get into it. I'm going to click into our Monday memo that posted yesterday. And in this memo, I kind of go over a little bit about what you're going to be doing for this module. I will click into the module though and go through the worksheet with you briefly, just so you can maybe understand exactly what I expect you to do. There is an assignment sheet, there is a rubric, but there is no essay. The assignment sheet and the rubric are to help you through the worksheet, okay? And I've posted the worksheet. This is nothing that you have to make up on your own, okay? So first, you're going to read this article. Your college major may not be as important as you think. And I know that that might sound a little strange. Excuse me. This article was written about 15 years ago, but I still think it is valuable. It's great for this kind of critical analysis. And some of the things that are said in the article are still true today. Sorry, I had to pause. I had a tickle in my throat. Okay. So first, I wanted to go over what is critical analysis because this is so important. And I'm just going to read this. Critical analysis involves close study of a text to evaluate its use of sources, organization, and purpose. You are essentially judging whether you think the text is well written, organized, and uses quality research and examples. And of course, you're going to need to prove this. So if you say this article uses good resources or has good sources, then you're going to need to say, for example, on this page, the article says this is a good source. So you're going to be very specific. You can't just say, yeah, this article uses good sources. Yeah, it's organized, and sure, the author meets, his purpose. It's effective. You can't just say that and not support why you're saying that. What in the article makes you believe that? And that's what critical analysis is. What it is not, and this is very important, critical analysis is not about agreeing or disagreeing with the topic, okay? So where Bissonette is talking about your college major may not be as important as you think, if you don't agree with him, that really doesn't matter. If you do agree with him, that really doesn't matter. What matters is, does he prove his points? Is the article well organized? And does he meet his purpose? Basically, does what he says in the essay, does that match his thesis statement? That's what you're looking at, okay? So it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with him. That really doesn't matter, okay? Critical analysis is how something is written, not what is written about, okay? So it's how they write about the topic, not what topic. And that's a very clear distinction, but still they're very close together. And a lot of times I will have students who argue that they liked this article because of his sources. They liked the article because it was well organized. It doesn't matter if you like it. I need to know, does he use good sources according to you? And I will tell you, I have had all across the board, I have had students read this article and say, this is an excellent article all the way through. I have had students read this article and say, this article was not well done at all. And then I've had students that are in the middle. They're like, well, he used good sources, but his organization wasn't great. Or he used good sources and his organization was good, but then he doesn't prove his thesis statement. So there are all a wide range of things that you can come away with from this article, which is why I like it, even though it's older. And all of it can be correct if you support what you're saying with proof from the article. That's it. Okay, that's the whole point of critical analysis. So how are we going to do this? Because you're not writing an essay. So how are we going to do this? So let's go into the modules, module 8, and I don't know why it went to 4. Let's go down here to 8. Okay, so module 8. Now, here's the article here, and there are a few videos here that kind of talk about college majors in general. But here's your assignment guidelines, and here is your rubric. What this says is that you are going to complete this worksheet. This is the worksheet that you will submit to this critical analysis link by Sunday. So you have the rest of the week to do this, but let's look at the worksheet. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and download it and bring it up because you are going to need this worksheet. You're going to need to download it, and you're going to need to type directly into this worksheet to complete this activity. Okay, so this is not, oh, you can use this worksheet if you want, or you need to use this worksheet. Okay, so this worksheet is in specific sections. So the first section is to write a summary of the article. Okay, so you are going to read the article. It's not a long article. It's like 3 pages long. You're going to read the article, and then you're going to summarize it. 5 to 7 sentences. Okay? Foundation, structure, purpose. This is your critical analysis part. Okay? And for each of these, I kind of have some questions that'll kind of help lead you through this. So when you're looking at foundation, that means you're looking at how does Zach Bissonette support his article? What is the foundation? What is the research that he uses when he's giving his points and making his argument? And is it solid research? Okay. So you may say, how do I know what's solid research? I don't know. Let's go back to the modules and let's just pull up this article. And you will notice, now I've got it here, you can download it, of course, here. But if you will notice, while he's writing, for example, most people will graduate with higher GPAs if they study something they are passionate about. And he has a note here about a correlation between high GPAs and landing jobs and making your career earnings. And it says number 5 here. So if you scroll down to where it says references, number 5, this is the article that he's talking about. It's from the New York Times. So it's a New York Times article. Do you need to try to go to that article? No. But something that you could look at is it's from the New York Times. Where is it from? You also want to look at the date. Now, while he wrote this article in 2010, he used a source that was 10 years old. Is that good? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But you can look at these things and go, okay, does this look like a strong source? Is this just, I don't know what this one is, The Lost Tycoon. This is a book. Okay, so that's great. This is another article from a newspaper. This is from a Yahoo news article. I don't know that that's solid. Maybe it is. We also have something else, Canadian HR Reporter, that's also a news outlet. Okay, so you can kind of see where is he getting his information from, and is it strong? Could he have done stronger research? I don't know. That's up to you. So when you're looking at foundation, that's what you're looking at. And you're going to want to give 2 examples from the article. So you may say, yeah, his foundation was solid. The research was excellent. Great. Say that and give 2 examples from the article where you are saying this is good research and he uses it well. If you're like, nah, this research is bad, give me 2 places and say why it is bad. You may be like, he does good in some places, but not in others. Great. Give me 2 examples that show what you're saying. Remember, you're focusing on the how, not the what. And so the same thing with structure. With structure, we're looking at how the article is laid out. And so I ask you some leading questions. How does he organize it? Does he have an introduction, thesis, body, conclusion? Are there section headings to help the reader? Does the structure strengthen the argument? How is the flow of this essay? Does the flow make sense? Again, give 2 examples from the article. He flows very well from this topic to this topic. Here's an example. He does not do well with organization. Here's an example. Give 2 examples. You can say great, not great, somewhere in the middle, but whatever you decide, you have to give 2 examples directly from the article, okay? Same thing with author's purpose, all right? So you'll want to answer these questions. What is the author's intent? Is his intent to entertain, to persuade, to inform? Does the provided information support his thesis? So he has a thesis statement. You need to note where you think that is. And then everything he writes after, does it support that thesis statement? That's purpose. If you think so, give examples. If you don't, give examples. No matter what you think, give examples that support what you're saying. You are making a critical analysis. You are evaluating this article. You have to give proof of what you're saying based on what's in the article. Okay, so is this article written for the correct audience? Again, give examples, okay? And now the conclusion is where you'll kind of answer some, how do you personally react to this text? Do you agree with the way the author argued his points? The how, not the what. It doesn't matter if you agree or not, but do you agree with the way he argued it overall? And then, are there any questions that this article raises in your mind that maybe the author should have addressed but missed? That's your conclusion. Again, you're going to do 4 or 5 sentences. You're going to use examples from the text. And then this last part here, if you were going to write this essay, because basically these are just your notes. If you're going to write this essay, what would be a working thesis statement? Zach Bissonette effectively argues his article. Zach Bissonette is ineffective in his argument. And one can see this by reviewing his foundation structure and purpose. Or Zach Bissonette is hit and miss in his article featuring college majors and their importance. Okay. You have to make, what statement would you make that's going to bottom line everything you just wrote in all of these sections above? Okay. Working thesis statement. Again, you do not have to write this essay. Your assignment for this module is completing this worksheet. So because of that, I do want to point out in the rubric, there is still a note about sentence structure and grammar. You need to write incomplete sentences. I know in all the other brainstorming and things that we've done, you could write in phrases, 1 or 2 words, as long as the idea is there, because you're going to put it in an essay. You're not writing an essay this time, so I need complete sentences here. I need it right here, okay? and you're gonna get graded on complete sentences, okay, on this. So make sure that you pay attention to that. Also, let's go back up here because we haven't done a summary in a while. So I want to remind you of a few things. Remember, a summary is basically a report, the gist of an article, the main ideas. You're not going to say, I think, in my opinion, because it's not about your opinion. It's not about what you think. It's about what's in the article. You're not going to use you and say you should do this or you should do that because this is a summary, okay? You're not going to quote from the article because this is a summary. It needs to be in your own words, okay? So it needs to be 5 to 7 sentences, and everybody's first sentence needs to be similar. Because in the very first sentence of a summary, you need to introduce the title and the author. Okay, so I'm going to write that with you right now. Okay, so I'm going to say, in the article, your college major, may not be as important as you think. Yes, you're going to write the whole thing out. By Zach Bissonette. I think that's how you say his name. I don't know. In the article, your college major may not be as important as you think, by Zach Bissonette, comma. The author, I could say discusses. I could say the author argues that parents and students, no, he only mentions parents at the end, that students shouldn't be overly concerned with their college major. Please do not repeat the article title. Put it in your own words, okay? Do not say, in the article, your college major may not be as important as you think, by Zach Bissonette. The author argues that your college major may not be as important as you think. Put it in your own words, and you don't want to use you or your. So you can't state it like that. So in the article, your college major may not be as important as you think, by Zach Bissonette, the author argues that students shouldn't be overly concerned with their college major as it applies to their future success. Say that. That's pretty good first sentence because that is kind of what he's saying. Okay, so now the next 3 or 4 sentences, I'm just going to give the main ideas from the rest of the article. Main ideas. That's it. Don't refer to the author as Zach. He's not your friend. Anytime you're referencing an author, you always do it by last name. So, or you could say he. So after you write this first sentence, and if you want to use this first sentence, you can. You're going to do 3 or 4 sentences about the main idea. So main ideas, main ideas, main ideas, main ideas. I'm just going to write main idea sentences, main idea. And then the last sentence, when I'm done with my summary, my last sentence is going to be something that what does the author want the reader to understand at the end? At the end, when all is said and done, what was the point? So Bissonette's point is clear. He wants students to maybe finish that. Or leads the reader considering their college major and what. So you basically, the very last sentence of your summary is going to kind of bottom line, what is the author leaving the reader with? What does he want them to know? What's the overall concern? Okay, that's a summary. All right, and the stuff that's in the middle is you can't possibly cover everything. So what are the main points? What are the main ideas? That's what you pull from the article, put it in your own words, And that's what you include in the sentences that go between this first sentence and this last one. That is your summary, okay? So I expect a full, complete sentence, 5 to 7 sentence summary, all right? Now, when you get to this part, you're probably going to still write about 3 or 4 sentences because you need to answer these questions and then you need to give examples, okay? So kind of consider the 4 to 5 sentences for each of these sections as well, and then you have one sentence that is your working thesis statement. And you'll notice that as you type, everything's gonna like shift down. You can't print this out and write on it because there's not enough space in between the sections. So you're gonna need to do this on your computer, save it when it's done, and then just upload the file to the submission link, okay? If you have questions about this, please let me know. Let me go back out to the modules. There is a video here about critical analysis and what to do for that. But this is the only assignment that you've got this week, okay, is completing this worksheet. So take your time and do it. And don't forget about inquisitives, okay? Work on those if you have any of those left, all right? If you have questions or concerns for me, I am here for you. I'm going to be working on your Module 7 essay, so if you need to revise, you'll have time to do that before our course deadline next Monday, okay? I will talk to you all soon. Let me know if you have questions or concerns working on this worksheet. Oh, I almost forgot. Evaluations, course evaluations are available. I almost forgot. Okay. If you go into your My4Cs portal, make sure you're signed in. And if you click this tile here, student evaluations, now it's going to look different from mine, but if you click here, you will see, and it's not going to show you that. You're actually, I think it'll have the class listed, like it'll say English 025, college English skills, and then it'll have like a click to evaluate button over here. Click that, and then you can complete your evaluation of the course, okay? So make sure that you do that. You have until the end of the semester to do that. So make sure that you get that done. Even though you go through your My4Cs portal to get to the course eval, I do not have access to the course evaluations until the semester or term is over. And even when the term is over, I can't see anything unless you specifically write your name in it. I'm not going to know whose evaluation is whose. Okay. So, again, let me know if you have any questions, complete the course eval, and I hope you all have a great rest of your summer, and let me know if I can do anything for you or help you in any way. Okay. Bye.